Hello and welcome to CEAZOR Snack Sandwich. Today we're going to take a look at Wild Credit. It's a decentralized lending borrowing platform on Ethereum with isolated lending pairs. Now, it's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot going on here, but I'll still explain it. I'll pull out a flowchart in a few minutes and go through all the little dandies inside it. And I do like it. It's pretty interesting. There's some cool ideas here. There's some things that definitely set it apart from like a traditional lending borrowing platform. Okay, so pretty much, here are your choices right now, the things that you can use to supply. So you can lend these tokens to people. So you can go through here, pause it, and here you can see the APR that is currently on each of these tokens. And then there's also borrowing, and you can see the borrowing rate. And then you can also see these high reward token rates. So they're incentivizing borrowing on this platform, which is quite interesting. So if you borrow tokens, they will incentivize it with their governance token. Your governance token, you can bring it to stake and you can stake it. So let's get into the details with a flowchart, and then you'll probably have a better understanding of all the little underworkings of this protocol. So here we have Dollar Bill and we have Boosted Bill. Boosted Bill wants to do some leveraging, or he wants to do some crazy DeFi stuff. So he wants to get his hands on some USDC, and Bill, he has USDC and he's looking to just earn some yield on it. So what can these people do? They come to your Wild Finance, and first there are these isolated pairs. So Bill will look at all of these isolated pairs and he will decide which ones he wants to provide his USDC to. So let's say he decides to provide his USDC to the ETH pair because he thinks that more people will use ETH to borrow his USDC. And then he will also maybe consider the risk factors of people using ETH to borrow his USDC. And then he thinks that he will get a better APR from this than from that, right? That's just some of the considerations. So when you supply USDC to this pool, you get back a token of USDC for this pool. But if you supply USDC to this pool, you get back a different token for this pool. So you're not going to get DAI lend. It's going to be USDC, but my point is that these tokens are not equal. Whereas if you go to other lending platforms, you put USDC into supply, you get back one token regardless of the collateral, right? So these are isolated pairs. Now they are aiming for 80% utilization. So what that means is the graph will look like slowly going up until utilization hits 80, and then it'll quickly ramp up fast. Okay, so that's the idea. That's what they're targeting. It's utilization of 80% is kind of the sweet spot before APR, the APY on the lend and borrow goes really, really high. Okay. So now he has these tokens. He can take those out into DeFi, and that's why there being two different tokens. So he could make maybe a liquidity pool with these two and some other tokens or what have you. There could be some DeFi use cases for these in the future if there's not some already. I wasn't able to find any right now, but the point is that these are tokens that are yield bearing and can be used in DeFi for other protocols. So Boosted Bill, he wants to borrow this USDC. Okay, so the first thing that they do, they have a minimum amount. So you have to borrow at least $5,000, and that kind of makes sense being on Ethereum. You're not going to want to borrow less than 5,000, but it also makes sense for liquidations, right? If the borrowing amount is too low, then it makes it harder to liquidate people because the liquidator is not incentivized to liquidate them because they're the debt and the collateral put in and the debt is not great, right? It's not enough. There's not enough there to incentivize liquidations. So they have this minimum $5,000 worth of tokens, and there's a whole chart. It looks like this, and you can go through it carefully. It's in the docs, and you can find out exactly because maybe with ETH, it's not $5,000 worth of ETH. It'll be like some number of ETH around $5,000. So they will just change these numbers periodically. Okay. So collateral goes in. So he would put it in his ETH into this pool and he would borrow the USDC. Now the collateral factors are all set to 60% now, but I assume governance in the future will be able to change this. I'm sorry, I don't know, but it does say for now. So that tells me that they are able to change these collateral factors. And maybe as risk goes up or risk is down, like this should probably be a lot higher than 60%, but maybe they're going to start with 60% just to, to keep things under control for now. Now, because he's borrowed some USDC, he's going to be rewarded in wild tokens bi-weekly. Now, most farms are you put your USDC in and you get a stream of some governance token out. That's not how this protocol is working. They are going to snapshot every week. They're going to look at the entire week and they're going to see how much did you borrow, and you're going to get a pro rata share of that. So if you borrow like $1 million for an hour and he borrows $500 for a week, then it's likely that you're going to still get more than him because you used a lot more money through the system, right? So they're rewarding people based on how much they borrow over in those epochs. And the epochs are based on blocks, but it's roughly about 2 weeks, right? So then they get these tokens, they can claim them, right? And what can they do with this wild token? The wild token can be staked, like I said, the staking. Now, how does the staking, again, it's VE staking. So you stake 1 wild for 4 years, you get 1 VE wild. If you stake 1 wild for 2 years, you get half a VE wild. So now these VE wild are basically giving you a share of the fees from the protocol. Now the fees get from the spread. So if you look on the website, you will see the borrow supply is, let's say, 11%, 11.68%, and the supply. So he pays 11% to borrow these tokens, and the supplier is paid 2.73%. So that leaves 8.9% left over, right? Those are used to buy up some wild tokens and given to the long-term stakers of wild. So currently they are also incentivizing this with some emissions until these fees ramp up and the protocol gets more adoption and more use and the fees are greater. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what wild is. Like I said, it's not an overcomplicated thing, but there are some cool new little features like this bi-weekly incentivization, and these isolated pools are interesting as well. That's pretty much it, and thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.